A5.
Okay, welcome back. Good afternoon. We're about to start the 3 o'clock session. Have to read the opening remarks. So here goes. Good afternoon. During the declared emergency, Committee of Adjustment virtual public hearings are being conducted by electronic means through WebEx, an online digital platform, and streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel. These measures are necessary to comply with physical distancing requirements and in-person attendance limitations. This will be a virtual public hearing, and participants who register in advance will be able to make their presentations to the committee using WebEx, an online event that is being moderated by city staff. Anyone wishing to view the hearing may do so by watching on YouTube. Participants who have registered in advance will be connecting either by their computer, a phone or tablet app, or by telephone. All participants will automatically be muted on entry. When your item is called, each participant will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. Only the committee members will be participating by video. Panel members are participating today are Donald Taylor, Laura Alderson, Mishi McCloskey, and Stan Kumaric, and I am Michael Clark. I'm the panel chair. All registered participants will be participating by audio only. We also ask that you mute your devices until you are called on to speak. Land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the land we're meeting on is traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. In accordance with sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning bylaw that apply to the property, permissions to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consents to sever properties to create new lots. Anyone in attendance today wants to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and email address, because the Committee of Adjustment and in the event of an appeal, TLAB will be sending notification and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee rendered here today, decisions may be appealed to the Toronto Local Appeal Body or in some limited circumstances to the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. The hearing procedure will be as follows. I will call each order in the item listed in the agenda. When making your submissions where an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant may proceed with a presentation if desired. When the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to address the committee. The committee may ask questions and/or take the matter into the committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant or agent, is given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee, and I will comment when you're reaching the 5-minute mark. When addressing the committee, please clearly start off by stating your name and address, and please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or agent goes first and makes their presentation to the committee. Please note the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if being substantially revised in order to ensure that the revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice of the application have been informed of the changes. Then individuals either in support or opposed to the application will be invited to speak. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker at the end of their presentation. When all speakers are finished, the applicant or agent has an opportunity to rebut only those issues and answer those questions that were raised by the speakers. That will then mark the end of the discussion, and the applicant is then taken into committee for a decision. Are there any declarations of interest, panel or staff, on the matters before us with the 3 p.m. agenda? Anyone have any?
Through the chair, I'm going to have to declare a conflict of interest on item number 39 at 1071 Weston Road.
Okay, and I believe you're required to state the
nature of the conflict is that I am a consultant, a big consultant for the Mount Dennis BIA, and this property falls within those boundaries.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Alderson. Okay, any others or no? Okay, deferrals. deferrals. So we maybe some deferrals to deal with at the outset. Oh, yes. Item number 37, A, B, and C, 71 Lloyd Manor Road. This is an application to, for consent to sever the property into 3 undersized lots and to build houses on each of those, detached houses. Planning is recommending refusal, and the applicant has now decided. We received a email in our additional materials that they wrote on January 11th that there was more opposition to their application as they anticipated to sever this into 3 lots. So they're going to defer and probably come back and apply to make 2, to divide into 2 instead of into 3. The speaker for this application is, and we have people waiting online, so you might as well get rid of this. Michael Galea of Axis Architects is the agent, and we have 3 people on the line prepared to make submissions on this application. The neighbors at 42 and 38 Lesmar and 67 Lloyd Manor. So let's hear first from the architect on their request to defer.
Mike Galea, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
I'm the agent on behalf of the applicant. I actually do not work for Axis Architects. I work for Spaced Design, but that is fair. Axis is the architect for the project.
Okay.
Anyhow, we wish to defer the consent application B0033 and the associated variances, which are A0409, A0410,
Okay.
and A0411.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
And just because for the reasons that you've discussed, my clients have basically heard their neighbors and are graciously deciding to defer. They did not think they would get this much neighborhood support after casual conversations, but once those conversations became more serious and they saw the proposal, I believe the opposition was more than they had anticipated anyhow, or the development was more than they had anticipated. So yes, we do have to come back with 2 buildings, eliminate variances associated with the lot sizes. There will possibly or most likely be variances associated with the building itself, but I believe we can address issues like height, community safety, and context that were addressed in the numerous letters that you've received.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, I guess we have to weigh in with the people on the line. Are they on the line, Nicole?
So through you, Mr. Chair, only the person from 38 Lesmar Drive is here.
From 38?
Yep.
Okay. Guangha Row. So let's just touch base on the issue of the fact that this matter is, the applicant has decided to defer, to make changes and come back with a revised application where they're only severing it into 2 lots, not 3. Is Guangha Row from 38 Lesmar on the line? Guangha Row. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. 38 Lesmar. Anyway, okay, it's just a.
There's another one at 42 Lesmar. Maybe we can try them. Aisa Long.
Sorry, Barb. She actually said she didn't want to participate.
Okay.
So yeah, those other 2, Ms. Lung and Mr. Zamet, are not on the line, and we can't reach. Anyway, it's being deferred. He's requesting, it's his right to defer, especially he's going to make substantive changes. Committee members, motion to defer. Mr. Komaric, thank you. Ms. McCluskey, thank you for seconding that. All in favor? Okay, the matter is deferred. We'll see you back here again, Mr. Galea. Okay, so let's go back to item number 35, 8 Clearview Heights. It's an application to construct a 2nd-story front addition and a new front porch. We have one variance only, very minor, the distance from the front lot line. And we have a support petition. I noticed, I made a note that some things don't look like were signed properly or whatever, but it is what it is. We do have the petition before us. Some of the addresses have signatures, others don't. But there is only the one variance. So we have the agent is Abdul Qayyam. Or actually, that's the owner
Yes,
of the
sir.
property. You're the owner, not the agent, correct?
Yes, sir. I'm the owner.
Okay, welcome. So very straightforward
Thank you, sir.
application. There's only one variance. I don't think we need a presentation. Would you like to advise the committee of anything before I see if they have any questions for you, or if someone's ready to make a motion? There is only the one variance, the front lot line.
Right, sir.
Okay, this is, I guess, occasion due to the new front porch. You're doing a new second story front addition, correct. Okay, committee members, any questions for the homeowner? Or if not, is someone ready for a motion? And there is condition, urban forestry condition number 3. Ms. McCluskey?
If there's no questions, I'll move to approve. Consider these or this variance to be minor in nature. Approval is subject to urban forestry condition.
Okay, thank
Number
you.
3.
Thank you, Ms. McCluskey. Seconder for that motion. Ms. Alderson, thank you. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Qayyam. Your application has been approved.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Really appreciate all the members and the support and help you are extending in this pandemic. And I really appreciate the staff of the city, Toronto City, especially the zoning staff. They were for last 2.5 months very, very cooperative. I understand the situation, what they are facing there. We are not there, but they are trying their best to keep everybody happy. It's not possible to make everybody happy, but I really appreciate them, the way they are behaving, the way they are responding, even beyond the timings. They send me an email whenever I have a question. Thank you very much. Really appreciate your quick decision on that one, sir.
Yeah, it's very nice to hear people, congratulate. Someone else did that earlier today. Congratulate the staff and the planning staff for all the hard work that they do. Okay, thank you. The next application is, I guess we have a few consent applications. We had 3, but one of them has got deferred. So the next 2 applications are consents to sever. In this case, 48 Matisse is the consent to sever into 2 undersized lots and to demo the existing dwelling and to construct on each new lot so created a new detached dwelling with an attached garage requiring variances to the zoning bylaw as set out in applications B and C. We have a cover letter, planning justification report, and communication and lot analysis from the agent. Planning is recommending refusal of the application. And forestry has weighed in, as well as engineering construction services, as they always do on consents. And that's what we have here. So we have a planning report. We have a lot of supplemental materials in the covering letter. We only have, in terms of speakers, we have the agent, Michael Barton, who will speak first. Then we have 2 neighbors, a neighbor at 46 Matisse right next door, as well as 1050 Kipling Avenue. So let's hear first from Mr. Barton.
Good afternoon. Trust you can hear me here.
Yes. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, not sure what happened there. Yes, I just said hello and I didn't hear a response. You're able to hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. So yes, I'm the agent for this application. I prepared the application package, including the planning justification report. I think right off the bat, my primary concern with this application is that I think there's too much attention that's being given just to the size of the proposed lots without consideration for the context of this property. I think when I read the staff reports that were provided, particularly the planning staff report, I didn't see much consideration to the dwellings themselves and the context of the dwellings as they sit on these proposed lots. I think my understanding would be is that it was really a situation of the lots are considered to be too small, and that was really the rationale of the recommendation that the application be refused. So I'm going to take it back a little bit just to look at it from that perspective. This is a very unique property in terms of its location in the neighborhood. So there's only one lot that fronts onto Matisse Avenue in this this block. So the properties that are to the property to the west fronts onto Brennan, and the property to the east fronts onto Kipling. And then, so the property that we're speaking about actually backs onto the rear yard of 67 Brennan. So you don't have any structures behind that property either, directly behind. So the one item I noted right away is the additional impact that would be created through this application relative to the current situation. You're not going to be creating new dwellings that are backing onto, so having, say, two dwellings backing onto an existing rear of a dwelling, they're going to be backing onto these existing rear yards. So in terms of the staff comments, the forestry conditions I did see, we are open to the forestry conditions upon approval of the application. And then with this respect to the ECS comments, they were satisfied that these lots could accommodate the required parking and driveways. So from that perspective of technically being able to accommodate these requirements on the lots as proposed. So you had mentioned the lot analysis that I had prepared. The one item I would note in there is that I realized just today actually that the document that was uploaded was an older version of the final document I prepared. So there was a reference to lot widths of 12.22 meters when we're actually talking about 10.67 here. But the content of the lot analysis remains correct. And what that lot analysis showed was a wide variety of lot widths in this area. So you can see lots that are one lot going up to 40 meters wide, lots that go down to 12 meters. So very wide range. So when I looked at this property initially and looked at how do these proposed lot widths work, it was from that perspective of providing a residential intensification in an appropriate location that isn't going to result in adverse impacts to the community relative to current conditions. So when I looked at it, the immediate point that jumped out at me is the fact that this property is on the periphery of the neighborhood. It's getting pretty close to Kipling Avenue. You have one property between Kipling and this property. So you're starting to move out of that neighborhood towards an important corridor where you have transit service that's very convenient as well. So it's a great location to see moderate residential intensification. So when I had looked at it again from the official plan perspective, I was looking at compatibility, fit in the neighborhood. Is this going to destabilize the neighborhood? And the reason I mentioned at the beginning about there being no comments in the staff report about the houses themselves is that I believe these houses will fit in with the character of the community. We see across the road on the south side of MATTICE that the homes that are there are very close to one another. They have small setbacks between them. So you do see a dense form of land use that's there today. So these lots that you're seeing proposed will be across the road from those lots. Yes, they will be on the smaller end of what's in the surrounding area. But again, given the unique context in the mid block of three properties being the only one fronting onto MATTICE, my opinion is you're not going to see adverse impacts resulting from the creation of these lots and the dwellings that are proposed. So from that perspective, it was my opinion that these lots and the dwellings were appropriate and met the 4 tests of the Planning Act for the variances as well.
Okay. Perfect timing, exactly 5 minutes. You must have practiced. Mr. Barton, I have a question for you because you rightly pointed out that planning staff seem to be more concerned with the size and frontage of the lot and not with the variances, and that's probably true. I think they look at it as a sort of a two-step test, and I guess once they say that these lots that they divided would be among the smallest in the area, and in terms of size and frontage, so they don't even feel, I guess, because it looks like your variances are rather modest. The coverage is 39% from 33, and the FSI is 0.76, which may or may not be what other lots have, but on larger lots. So they seem to, you're right, talk about their analysis. They got stuck on your actual severance and didn't even get as the major issue as opposed to your actual 7 variances on each of those 2 lots you propose. That's just my reading of why they, you know, you didn't get past the first step. If it was a proper lot, if they felt the lot was acceptable, if it was 12 meters and not 10, then perhaps they would have gotten into the discuss your variances. In any event, does anyone have any questions for Mr. Barton before we go on to the other 2 neighbors? Mr. Taylor.
I have a question.
Mr. Taylor.
I have a question. I'm wondering.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm wondering if the. It's okay. I don't mind being Mr. Taylor.
You go, let's get a turn.
I'm wondering if this building has been torn down already, because in October 2020, there was a lot of hoarding up around the building itself, the old building. I'm just wondering if it's already been torn down. I'm just wondering how far along you are in this process. Have you started to build? What's happening?
No construction has started on the property, so it has gone on for an extensive period of time. This is an application that went in. I do appreciate the issues with
Mr. Barton, I can barely hear you. Can you try to? There's something going on.
I'm not sure about that. I can hear clearly on this end. I'll speak more loudly. Yes, no activity on the property in terms of construction or demolition. Again, I will admit I'm not clear of the hoarding that's gone on, but the house does still stand, and the owner hasn't gone forward with any applications for demolition or any other activity like that. So they are waiting for this process to move forward. So
what you're saying is the hoarding went up prematurely.
I think it was probably hoarding just to have some control on the property. Yeah, there hasn't been any activity would have been intent to damage trees or damage any other elements of the property. So it probably was just a control of the site, that more so than any type of intent to move forward with action. The house is empty right now and not in a condition to live in. So I think it was more of a site control matter.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Barton.
Mr. Taylor?
My first question had to do with the plywood hoarding, so thanks, Ms. Alderson. My second question has to do with the property immediately south of this subject property, on the south side of, is it MATTICE Avenue? Have I got the pronunciation right?
Yep.
Asking the applicant, is it MATTICE?
Yes.
It is Matisse.
Yeah, okay. Now, when I look at the location map, I'm a little bit confused. It seems to show 2 very narrow lots with a single building on it with an address of 49A. But when I look at the Google Street View, I see fairly wide houses entirely on that side of the street. There's no way. It doesn't appear that those 2 narrow lots actually exist. Can you just describe the south side of MATTICE directly opposite your property? What are the lot sizes and what's built there?
Yes, so it is a single home that has been constructed there. I do believe this must be a situation. I don't know why the city's mapping would still show it as 2 lots the way that it does. But this would have been constructed. They could be former lots, or maybe a severance was approved that was never finalized. I don't know the history there, but it is a single family home that's constructed across both of those lots, sort of as it's shown there. So I would say this generally shows what's been constructed off the street.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, if there's no further questions, let's hear from the 2 neighbors. The first one is Janet De Leon at 46 MATTICE, next door.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
This is Janet De Leon at 46 MATTICE Avenue. So I'm on the corner lot of Kipling and MATTICE. And so I have a bungalow, and I'm only concerned about how tall will the house be? And also, if there's a window facing my yard, that will be, my privacy will be compromised. And so that's the only concern that I have. Will there be window on the side of, on the right side facing Kipling? Because it will be facing my yard.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll let the applicant respond in his rebuttal. He can
Okay.
look at the plan. And the other issue is the height. It doesn't look like there's a height variance. So it looks like he's keeping the height within the allowable height limit.
Okay.
He'll
Yeah,
respond.
the windows.
Yeah, he'll respond as to perhaps show where the windows are in relation to your house in his rebuttal.
Sure.
Not right now, but when after we hear from your other neighbor, and then he'll have a chance to respond. Okay.
Okay.
Is there anything else you'd like answered or any other concern?
That's the only concern that I have. Yeah,
Okay, thank you, Ms. Leon. We'll hear, anyone have any, okay, so we'll hear now from the neighbor at 1050 Kipling, Barad Azian Kohan.
Hi, my name is Barad Azian. I'm from 1050 Kipling Avenue.
Yep.
And based on these bylaw adjustments required, we were wondering if they could follow the city requested bylaws to the fact that based on the rear yard setback, the height adjustment, the proposed square feet of the dwelling 0.77 and the proposed dwelling coverage of 39.1, this dwelling would basically be so long that it would cause reduced enjoyment to 1050 Kipling Avenue. So this property is located to the rear of my house. So if they're putting windows on our side, it would cause privacy reduction, and also the height of the building would also reduce the amount of sun required for plants and everything in the backyard. So it would cause reduced enjoyment, reduced privacy, and stuff like that.
Okay. Okay, so the agent will respond to your concerns in his rebuttals. Anything else you'd like to add? Anything else you're concerned
No, that's
with?
all.
Okay. Okay, does anyone have any questions for either of the two neighbors at this point or no? Members? No? Okay, so let's go back to Mr. Barton to respond. And Mr. Barton, if you can please indicate where the neighbors are on the side elevations adjacent to these neighbors. As part of your
Yes, so the first speaker was, from what I understood, is to the east of the property, closer to Kipling. So they would be facing the east elevation of the house that would be facing onto MATTICE. So there are no windows on that side as proposed. So the elevation, it's shown as the east elevation, shows no windows on the side. Again, that helps with privacy for the property that fronts onto Kipling as well.
Is that part one or part two?
If I understand where that speaker was, it would be the part 2 east elevation.
Okay. So that's drawing A2.2. Okay.
Yeah, so just where you can see on the above grade levels, there's no window shown.
Okay, so Ms. Leonson.
Yes, and then questions about, I guess, in terms of I think there was a comment in the after I gave my presentation about the houses being designed modestly. Again, yeah, the intent has been for these lots, with the understanding that they are smaller, is to construct homes that fit within the character of the neighborhood. So we hadn't received, and that was why I raised the concerns of not receiving any comments from staff about the designs of the homes themselves, is that we didn't really have much feedback to go on in terms of how they may fit in better, if there was concerns about that. The architect on this property has done a number of designs in these types of neighborhoods and had been sensitive to privacy and overlook, and that's why you do see windows in locations where they are and removed where they are. So there's always opportunities, I suppose, to make modifications to the designs, but you know, we've gone forward designs that we feel do address overlook. You can see in this elevation in particular that the rear of the house steps back, you know, trying to reduce some height as you move towards that rear property line. So there are design elements like that in there already that have been sensitive to concerns about height and overlook. And again, only one of these houses requested the height. There was compliance on the other property as well. So I guess without any specific request to do particular changes or comments, that would be what I would offer with respect to the design.
Right. Right, you do have a height variance on one of them of 0.31. That's why one part 2 has 8 variances and part 1 has 7 variances. And I think the difference is that part 1 does not have a height variance and part 2 does a slight height variance of 0.31 of like a foot. Is that correct? Okay.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, would you like to continue? I don't know if there's anything else. So I think like I think community planning, if you can read behind the line, they were sort of mostly concerned with your lot frontage and lot area, dealing first with the consent, and their feeling was it's not appropriate because it would be one of the smallest lots in the area. So they didn't really comment much on the variances themselves. I would agree with you, and perhaps that's why. Committee members, any questions?
If I may, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh,
go ahead.
Just my concern, I guess, the reason I'm concerned with that is that was, I didn't hear that from staff that they had said they're not going to comment. It was more that, you know, in this process, we should be receiving, I guess what I'm saying is I don't think there's a need to say, well, staff now need to look at this and go back and take a look at the designs themselves. I think that was what the process was intended to be. So by not receiving comments on the dwellings, I'm not sure how to take that, but I took that more as there's not so much a concern about the design and the specific variances as it was creating this lot fabric. So I hadn't received any calls or requests to discuss the design with city staff.
You're probably right. Yeah, so they feel it's not within the established character. So, okay, so we know we have that, and we have we heard from the neighbors. Committee members, any questions for Mr. Barton, or is someone ready to weigh in with a motion? And again, Mr. Barton, have you pointed us to other severances where lot sizes are similar to the frontages and areas of the two lots you're proposing to create? Again, with singles and not. Sometimes they,
just to be clear, not severances, just lot configuration. Yeah. So I think for the most part, this would be the existing lots as opposed to any recent severances in the area. So it just shows a very wide range of what works. So when I did my lot analysis, I actually used a pretty small scope area because that was where you saw lots that were in that range of 15 meters, 16 meters, and down to 12. If you move, the further you move out, the greater variability you get in terms of going out to, you know, lots that are probably double lots or you know, merged lots historically in that as well. So it really starts to skew the analysis. But I would, just to be clear, I don't believe there's a lot of variances, or sorry, severances in the area. It's more just this is the character of the
right.
lot fabric.
Okay, they, as they say, furthermore, the applications if approved would create increased pressure for severances on similarly sized lots in the area. So they seem to be saying it's the size, it's the frontage, and if you have a 10-meter lot, then, you know, sometimes what they say, they didn't say that here, is, oh, it's more appropriate to have a pair of semis rather than two singles, because they didn't even say that here. They just, or they've said, well, you know, it's a small lot, you push the envelope on the actual houses. They didn't say that here. They seem, their concern seems to be with the actual lot severance itself. Whether or not you built something as of right on those lots, or whether you had a larger variance or a smaller variances on those two proposed new builds, it seems to be their concern is mainly with the severance itself. That's my reading. Committee members, any questions? Okay, so someone has to weigh in with a motion.
I'm going to chime in. I share planning's concerns. I appreciate that the variances are not that great in terms of when you get to the houses themselves, but for the character of this area, it's a substantial reduction in the size of average lot and frontage. And for that reason, I'm inclined to support planning's recommendation to refuse, and I would therefore move a motion for refusal.
Thank you, Mr. Kamerick. Seconder for that, Ms. Alderson. Thank you. Any comment? Okay, don't have to. So all in favor? Opposed? Okay, the motion carries 4-1 with Mr. Taylor dissenting. The application is refused. Thank you to the neighbors and thank you, Mr. Barton. Okay, so 37 has been deferred, so we'll move on to item number 38, 212 Cornelius Parkway. This is the last of our 3 consent applications that we've had in a row. So this is, Lloyd Manor, right. Going to move on to the next one, 38. It's an application to sever the property into 2 lots. Which are substandard lots, and on each size, each of these residential undersized lots to build a detached dwelling with an attached garage. We have 4 variances, part 1, 5 variances, part 2. We have before us presentation. We have engineering construction services, Metrolinx advisory comments. We have support in the support petition, and we have planning with a proposed condition of approval that in the event of approval, the proposed development should be constructed as illustrated in a revised site plan dated November 10, 2021, as it relates to the proposed front yard setback. So planning is seems to be okay with this one. So we have the only speaker we have is Mrs. Evangelista, agent for the applicant. We have her presentation materials in our package. Good afternoon.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I don't believe these are undersized lots. I believe these are regular lots.
Hold on.
You mentioned that they were undersized residential lots, and I think they're not undersized.
Hold on. The lot frontage. Oh, new detached dwelling. Okay, it doesn't say undersized. So
They are undersized in terms of lot area.
Yeah, it usually is. That's why I'm just trying to look at to see the notice one. Yeah, because on a sever, otherwise, the lot area, minimum lot area is, it's 550 square meters, and here the lot area is, I can't read, there's something blotted out here. Same thing with the frontage. Here's the frontage, front yard setback. Yeah, the area of the lot is under, requires variances number 1 in the 2 applications. So there is a variance for that.
I was just going based on what planning had said.
I guess it's not the lot frontage, it's just the lot area. There doesn't appear to be a lot frontage variance. Okay, so let's go back to Mrs. Evangelista for your presentation, or short presentation. There's no one here in opposition. And community planning appears to be in support. So please go ahead. Did we lose Mrs. Evangelista?
Oh, hello.
Hello.
My apologies. Hi, my apologies. I didn't realize I still had it on mute at my end. Happy New Year, Mr. Chair, members. I'm here on behalf of the owner of 212 Cornelius Parkway. As you've read through all the materials, Planning, transportation, engineering, everyone is in support. Forestry has no comments other than a new tree or cash in lieu, which we are in agreement to. What I do need to bring your attention to is there was an error on the part 1 of the notice. Now, you know, we can fix it quite easily, right? So if we look at part 1, variance number 3, where it states that the proposed dwelling will be 1.6 meters from the north side and 1.2 meters from the south side. In actual fact, that should read 1.6 meters from the south and 1.6 meters from the north. Now, this can be easily corrected because all we need to do is we could just shift the house over, because I will be quite honest with you, we've been at this process and we've worked very closely with planning and all the various departments. We've been at this for over a year. So you can imagine the owners, they want to get moving with this project, and having to defer it, it would just add much more time to it, which we're really not in a position to do. So on our behalf, you know, these things do happen and we're okay with it. All we need to do is basically move the house over so that we are in compliance with the notice of decision. Also, I would like to say that we did go back to planning through Nicole Milrose, the application technician. She did reach out to planning. They don't have a concern with that. However, my concern is if we tie the site plan, we can tie the site plan because planning has, they just basically want to make sure that that front yard setback of 6.5 only relates to that front pop out, where that front porch is, only relates to that front pop out, okay? So if we can, if I can make a recommendation that we, you know, if you do choose to tie only the site plan, as it only relates to the front yard setback, because if we tie it to anything else, then we're going to have a problem at building permit stage. I'd prefer not to tie it at all, but that's my opinion. So what all the variances that we have, as you can see, we are slightly smaller in the lot area. Our setbacks at the rear start at 7 and go up to 7.35 and 7.34. The front yard setback only relates to that area right in front of the porch. We have no height, we have no length, we've kept it quite clean.
Right, okay, just going back.
So in closing, I respect, yes.
No, I was just going to say, it clearly states, and that the condition is construct as illustrated on the revised site plan as it relates to the proposed front and yard setback. We could perhaps say only. This is much preferable in the old way of saying it's build it substantially in accordance and for everything, and then that puts a real onerous position for the building department to have to suddenly check everything. That it and substantial accordance is subjective. So to me, when city legal changed that to construct as illustrated and to say which document, in which case the site plan only, not all the plans, and in this case only with respect to the front yard setback. So to me, this is a much easier and more practical. Once you get into the building stage, suddenly you have a building official who's going to have to check everything and have to decide it's off by 0.1 of a millimeter. Is that substantial? So now it's construct as illustrated. It's not. It's objective. It's not subjective. So I think we can make it clear that the tying it is only with respect to the front yard setback and nothing else. But you did mention something about we could switch it, or can we make that change, Madam Secretary Treasurer? In other words, in variance 3 on part 1, can we actually switch? The proposed dwelling will be located 1.6 from the south and 1.2 from the north, and switch that around. We don't have you're saying that Nicole confirmed that planning says they're okay with that, and that's not a notification issue. Because that's what you're suggesting.
So-
Right.
Change, right?
So what's being proposed is the wording on the notice will be the same, and they're going to move the house over
Okay.
To comply.
to comply with that wording.
And
Right.
Okay. So we're not going to change the word.
And we're
but you're
okay
gonna
with
move
that.
the house so that it complies with
Over.
the extra 0.4 on one side and less 1.4 on the other side. Okay. So at
Right.
least they'll always be able to tell their grandkids there's a history behind this. Otherwise, it would have been
Yeah.
0.4 of a meter further.
Well, there's
on the
always
other
a
side.
there's always a story to tell, right?
Exactly. Okay, members, any questions for Mrs. Evangelista, or is someone ready for a motion? So we're not going to be touching the wording, and she's just going to build it in accordance and move the house over. And the condition, if we could perhaps put the word only after the front yard setback in the staff condition. That
I
be
would
nice.
greatly appreciate that.
Okay. So any further questions? Or is someone ready to weigh in? And we do have urban forestry condition 3, I believe, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Cash in lieu or a new tree,
Yep.
which we'll put in a new tree, no problem.
Okay. Mr. Taylor?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I find the lot sizes and configurations in this location to be quite consistent with the neighborhood. And I'm quite satisfied to move approval. I'll make 2 motions, one with regard to the consent and another one on the minor variances.
Okay.
Regarding the consent, I move approval subject to standard conditions of consent and the conditions requested by engineering and construction services and transportation services. With respect to the variances, I find them all to be satisfying the 4 tests under the Planning Act. And I move approval subject to community planning condition 1 amended so that it reads, instead of as it relates to the proposed front yard setback, amended to be only as it relates to the proposed front yard setback. And I would also recommend adding urban forestry condition 3 to the approval of the minor variances.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Taylor. I have a seconder for Mr. Taylor's motion. Mr. Komarek, thank you. All in favor? You have unanimous approval. Thank you, Mrs. Evangelista.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Okay. Okay, next application is item number 39, 1071 Weston Road. Laura Alderson has declared a conflict, so she can go take a little break. And it's an application, it's a revised application. We have the yellow highlighted sheet. It's an application to alter the existing dwelling by providing 2 additional dwelling units in the basement. There are 3 variances. Variance 3 has been revised. We have 3 variances. There were 5 units. These are 2 additional basements. We have a copy of the site-specific zoning bylaw. We have supplemental material renderings. Transportation has 3 conditions of approval. Planning is recommending refusal of the application, and in the additional materials, we have site plan photos and other materials provided by the applicant. Okay, the applicant is Andy Trotter. There's no other speakers on this application.
Mr. Chair, I have a concern with the revision because the notice went out indicating that 4 parking spaces would be provided, and they're now showing 3, which is less. So if the applicant can address that.
Okay, let's hear from Mr. Trotter.
Um,
Have to
a
defer this or not. Welcome, Mr.
I
Trotter.
put out the plan. Oh, sorry. Hello.
I said welcome. You
Hello.
sound a little far away. If you can try to.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Sandy Trotter, agent, 81 St. Clair's Avenue. there was a little confusion going back and forth with transportation. I did send a proposal to transportation for four parking spots, and they said the drive aisle wasn't enough. So I went back to the 3. There was quite a bit of back and forth. I think if 4 was put on the notice, I believe that certainly wasn't my intention, and there may have been a mistake there. There's been quite a bit of information that's gone back and forth. And I believe, you know, we want to stick with the 3, and that's what we discussed with transportation. Okay, and can I go ahead with the presentation?
Well, I don't know. I just asked them to blow it up so we can take a closer look. It purposely said the proposal shall have 4 parking spaces in the rear yard, which 2 will not be located abutting the north property line. Now it's changed to 3 parking spaces in the rear yard, of which 1 will abut the north property line and 1 will abut the south property. So that hasn't gone out to the public.
Well, I
So
believe
what's gone
that
out to the
the
public
zoning
implies
notice-
that there's 4 parking spots. So would someone have objected if they saw 4 and not 3? The question
I think
is
this
whether
is
it's
a
technically.
problem.
Yes. Go
I
ahead.
think this is a problem that happened with the Committee of Adjustments on that end. There's been a mistake because I submitted a zoning notice with 3 parking spaces, and I submitted plans with 3 parking spaces. Certainly on January the 4th, there's plans submitted with 3 parking spaces. There's a zoning notice submitted with 3 parking spaces. So I'm not even really sure where this 4 parking space, how this even got in the file.
But our notices were mailed in December.
Yeah,
So if you filed something January 4th, it was too late for this hearing.
Well, then what do we do?
Looks
You
like you'll
have to be
defer.
deferred.
Okay.
Unless you can,
Okay, then I guess-
go back to providing 4 parking spots.
No, it's impossible.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't understand the mix-up. I guess a lot of proposals were mailed out. I'm not sure how this ended up with committee. I may have gotten mixed up along the way. The
Andy,
zoning
it's not a
notice says
question
3
of
parking-
whose mistake it was. If it's got to be done.
Yeah.
Not, you know.
Okay.
So hopefully staff can get you on this, as early as possible to, you know, not impact your client in terms of this project.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, okay. I apologize then if then I guess we'll have to defer then, I guess.
Okay, so I guess I need a motion to defer for due to improper notice that there's a mistake in the number of parking spots shown and went out to the public. Mr. Taylor? So
I'll move for deferral to enable correction to the parking spaces.
Okay. Seconder for that? Mr. Kamarick, thank you. All in favor? Okay, the matter is deferred. Okay, we can get Laura back.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trotter. Sorry about that.
If you call our office tomorrow, we'll figure out a new hearing date for you, okay?
Okay, next application is item number 40. This matter was deferred from the September 14th, 2021 hearing. Yeah, Mr. Trotter's was deferred from May 23rd, 2019, so he has a further delay. But it's been sitting there for over 2 years anyway, so what's another couple of weeks? So 440 Rathburn is to convert the unused storage space and unused storage lockers, being a portion of the existing building, into additional dwelling units. There are 5 variances. We have a parking justification. We have a previous Committee of Adjustment application decision from April 2013. Planning has weighed in with the condition of approval. They want a letter of credit to secure landscaping works associated with the landscaping plan. Transportation has 5 conditions of approval, and we have 5 letters of opposition. In the additional material, we have a letter from a resident in the building advising they were evicted from the storage room that they've been using for 6 years. And I guess the storage room is with the area that they propose to convert into additional dwelling units. The applicant on this application is Andy Verheil. And as well, we have 3 tenants in the building registered to speak. So first we'll hear from the agent. Mr. Verheil.
Good afternoon. This is Andy Verheil from AVA Design Studio. I'm the applicant.
Okay, welcome, sir.
All right. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
I guess we'd like a presentation, because we need a presentation on this one.
Absolutely. I'm prepared to present this project.
Okay.
So first of all, thank you for listening to this. We are proposing to add 11 new residential units to the ground floor of this existing 7-story building. Currently, the ground floor has two bedroom units, one on either end of the floor plate. There are many mechanical and electrical rooms. There's a management office. There's a fairly large, inefficiently planned laundry room, a very, very large lobby space, which is vacant all the time, and 6 large storage and locker units. So there currently are 2 large storage rooms and 4 locker rooms. These rooms, all of them, are in a particular state of disrepair. The storage rooms, some of them are vacant, filled with old building materials, old refrigerators, millwork from previous renovations from units. And these spaces really act as a potential fire hazard. There may be asbestos located in these spaces. They're quite run down, potential home for rodents. So we would like to improve this and clean the ground floor up. So we'd like to, we feel that the ground floor isn't being used efficiently and it's quite vacant. So there are locker rooms which are in a bad state. The property management recently conducted a locker survey study with the residents, and it was found that 44 lockers are presently filled with possessions, objects, things of various natures. 32 of the lockers were claimed by the tenants. So therefore, 12 lockers are left untaken for. So no one's claimed them. 12 lockers, which we're presuming are from previous tenants, and they've just left their junk. So in our proposition, we're proposing a locker room on the ground floor. We're converting one of the storage rooms into a locker room, and it's 43 square meters approximately. And we are providing 34 stacked locker spaces. So there's 32 lockers that are claimed. We are proposing 34 lockers. So all the people that have lockers do now have a space for their possessions in a modified locker space. And there's potentially 2 vacant ones that we can allot to other tenants. So looking at, we have received 6 letters of objection, and basically one of their main focuses are the locker spaces. 3 of those people have lockers. So really there are 3 people that do not have lockers. So we can actually provide that to 2 of the 3. So we're hoping to, appease that with the tenants. So the other issue, this building is, this existing 7-story building is located on a beautiful site. It's got lots of gracious lawns, trees. It's quite a lovely park-like setting. And we feel, when you look at the existing building, the ground floor walls are fairly blank, and there are just very small window spaces. So we feel that by adding units to the ground floor, we are allowing the people to use the site better. We've worked with the planning department to provide exterior amenity space. We've worked with urban forestry, provide a planting plan and an inventory of all of the plants, of all the trees on the site. So basically, we are requesting the following variances that are listed in the proposal. We feel that our proposal meets the intention of the official plan, and we feel that these minor variances are quite minor. items number 1 and items number 4, basically the building is existing legal non-conforming because the first item, the existing dwelling units, basically there is 136.6 square meters per unit. So, and the minimum requirement is 139. So the existing already doesn't conform. There is no below grade parking. So we can't provide 50% of the parking spaces below grade. We've done a parking study, which basically states that from the time that the study was drawn up, that there were 17 underutilized spaces, so 87 existing visitor parking spaces. It was shown that only 70 of them were used, so that means we have a surplus of 17. And of the 5 existing visitors parking spaces, it was shown that only 3 of them were used. So there is actually 19 spaces that can be reallocated to residents or visitors parking to whatever suits the tenants. We work with for the exterior amenity space. We've worked with the planning department. We've added exterior seating, additional benches, planters, and lighting. So we come slightly short of the 40 minimum square meters. We stand at 37.2 meters squared, and the planning department seemed to be satisfied by this condition. I think I'm out of time.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the agent at this point, or we'll go to Mr. Kamarick?
I have a question regarding parking. The Transportation Department has voiced a concern that you haven't provided a justification for your parking deficiency. And that was dated January the 4th. What's the date of your parking study that you submitted?
So the parking study, I believe, was submitted on January 5th.
Okay, so then the Transportation Department hasn't had time to comment on whether they find that study to be satisfactory or not then?
I would imagine so, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so pages 2 and 3 have tables on it, which basically back up what I said about the 17 extra spaces for visitors parking and the additional 2 surplus spaces for visitors.
It just seems inconsistent with what we're hearing from residents who are saying that they're short on parking. So I guess we'll hear from them.
Of course.
Okay, so we can go and hear from the first neighbor. First neighbor is Rita Odo at an apartment 407.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hi. Okay, so sorry, I'm kind of bent over here. With regards to, I'll start with the signage, number 1. Where it was placed was at the front where nobody uses. You can't see it, like we all come in the back door. I only found this out on January 5th because I stayed in the laundry room, which was tucked in a little corner on the way out the door that I finally seen it, or I would have put on all over this, number 1. Number 2, with regards to the parking, there's actually 42 under the canopy, and there's 47 out, and there's 5 visitors, which is a total of 94. Continuously, and I'm saying continuously, we're always getting tickets if you park in the visitors parking, and I've even gone so far as gotten tickets parked in my own parking spot that I pay for. I have 2 parking spots. There's 80 apartments in there. There's 80 apartments in the building at the present time. Sorry, I'm a little overwhelmed here. Not enough parking for sure. And now they want to put another 11 apartments in there. We don't have enough parking as it is. Then we go into the water, at minimal, once a month, our water is down because the plumbing in the system here is out of date. Way out of date. Also, I know that from when we just moved in here, they were talking about putting in some 3 apartments back then, and the fire department came in and they said no because the sprinkler systems were too low down by the storage system. Another one, I've asked for the last 9.5 years in writing, every time we've had a new superintendent for a storage unit, and now he's going to try and appease me with a stacked one. Like, come on. I have to pay $200 and some a year to stack both my husband's and my tires, over, and that's $200 and some. I'm not the only one. So, I mean, I'm just, like I said, I'm overwhelmed here with regards to, and furthermore, with regards to presently, we have 8 units that are not even in use right now because when somebody moves in and they see how bad the water system is here, the electrical system, and especially the parking, they move out. So I'm unsure where this person is getting that we have the room for this, that there's unused storage units. All the places that I've looked at are used. And as I said, the integrity of the building, I'm uncertain how they're going to do that without the whole building falling down. Oh, I'm sorry. Apparently I've got 3. But my biggest concern is the signage. I would like this to be deferred until February 17th, whereas we can have go around, I will personally go around door to door and have everyone either sign a petition or send a letter to Nicole Milrose regarding the fact that they were unaware that this was even taking place because, as I said, it was put in such a conspicuous spot, and have it deferred to the Thursday, February 17th. And as I said, and that they can have their letters in by the 10th, or that I can get a petition signed and sent through that this cannot take place. This cannot take place. And the building was done in 1965. It was only for 80 units. It was only done for 80 units. So I'm unsure like how they can even think that they could put these in here. And I mean, my apartment. Sorry, I have to keep getting up and down. My apartment is there's things that have to be done in my apartment. And I guess I've been here 9.5 years, and then continuously nothing's been done to correct those. How about we correct all the things that are wrong in the building presently, and then we move forward?
I've let you go on a little bit of leeway, but I think we got to stick to what we're talking about with the application.
Okay. Okay, parking's a big one.
The fact that you're saying that there's things
And the storage, the storage.
Yeah, we want to hear from you why these units should be built and taking away, whether they're taking away amenity space that has been used, or as they say, it's all unused.
But they are being used. That's just it. Where they're saying that that's unused. Maybe I'm not sure who's come into the building to see the building to see where these unused these storage units are, and now they're going to give you stacked storage. The people can't use stacks. There's people in here that are like older people, and there's other people that are in here that are senior or disabled, and we have other people that are single people that there's no way they can start putting their tires in a stacked storage. So that's the big number one. And then you say, but the parking. We don't have the parking for another 11 units. We just don't have it. We don't even have the storage. If you go around and ask who needs a storage unit right now, how about that? I can do that by the 17th and see who all needs a storage unit. And I can assure you, everyone's been refused.
Okay, and we will hear from the applicant in relation to your concerns, including the issue of where the sign was posted. Thank you.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions? Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Odo?
Yes, I do. Through the chair, do you have a tenants association in that building?
No.
Maybe you should start one.
Yeah, honestly, since we've moved in here, every time someone tried to start that, since we've moved in here, they've been pushed so far that they moved out. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? And we'll move on to the next speaker, Don Walsh from Suite 205. We also have a letter. We have a letter from Ms. Odo, and we also have a letter from Don Walsh. If you want to.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Don Walsh, and I live at 440 Rothburn Road, Unit 205. And I'll just piggyback off my neighbor Rita Odo's concerns, definitely about the storage units. I have a storage unit that is in use, and my winter tires are in there, so I really don't know how stacked storage is going to accommodate that. Plus, I have 2 kids. We have seasonal items in there. So I mean, I don't think the storage lockers are unused. And I don't. And about this survey, I think it's inaccurate. I think they should pull that survey, because I mean, I think a lot of people didn't fill out the survey. So I think that should be revisited.
Nothing was put through the doors.
And nothing's been put through the doors. So the tenants are really, a lot of tenants are really unaware of what is going on here. And it's really disconcerting.
In terms of the notice of the meeting, I believe, and we'll hear the Secretary Treasurer, and they have to post it in a, they don't give it to every tenant. They just post it. I don't know if
Yeah.
we're not given mail delivery. Madam, Barb, can you weigh in on the issue of the notice?
If I could comment on that though,
Yeah.
it is put at the front door where the lobby is. We park in the back of the building, and every tenant uses the back door. So maybe it should be posted at the back door for future reference.
Okay, so it was posted in the laundry room and at the front door, but not at the back door or the elevator lobby or anything.
It wasn't the letter.
Yes, the notice.
The letter of January 3rd was posted in the laundry, and I just so happened upon it because I was doing my laundry that day.
Right.
But before that, I knew nothing about this application.
But it was posted at the front
And
door
I do have
and
another
the laundry room,
concern.
correct? That's where it was posted, not at the back door, not at the
Yeah,
elevators.
I don't use the front door.
It was at the front door. Okay.
And I don't use the elevator because I live on the 2nd floor.
Right.
So.
Okay. It wasn't there anyway. It was at
Yeah.
the front end. Is
So
there
I mean,
like a mail?
if it could be posted in more,
Yeah. Is there like a mail room where people get their
I think
mail,
it's
or is the mail
tenant level.
delivered?
No, our mail comes right to door.
Oh, it does. Okay. Thank you.
We have a mail slot in our apartment doors, and it comes straight to our door.
Okay. Okay, let me know when you're done, and I want staff
And
to
my
comment
other
on
concern-
notification here. So you please
Yeah.
continue.
I mean, my other concern is just about people not knowing about it, right? And I've lived here for 10 years. We're using our storage unit. So I don't know when they say unused lockers. Like, I mean, I really think that's misleading.
Lack of parking spaces.
Lack of parking. I mean, it doesn't affect me personally, parking, but I know it does with other tenants. And, we're a tight-knit group here. And I think that, we're being duped. And I don't like it.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Any questions?
And about the storage lockers, like a stackable locker, I'm not going to be able to put my winter tires in a stackable locker. So in my humble opinion, it's not appropriate.
Uh-huh.
But there's 4 washers for 80 units.
Yeah, that's not on here though. Yeah. So, and also the construction is going to be a bit of a concern for me because I do live on the 2nd floor. I have 2 small kids.
Yeah, we don't deal with construction
I have
issues
a
are not.
dog.
Yeah, I understand. Construction is an issue when people
Yeah.
build, but we don't deal.
Okay.
We deal with the build form issues.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I can say that another time then.
Okay.
Thank you for listening. I appreciate you
Thank you,
letting
Ms.
my
Walsh.
voice be heard.
Thank you. Thank you for your letter and following along with your letter here. Any questions for Ms. Walsh?
Okay.
Okay, if not, let's go on to the next last tenant who's registered to speak, Sean Kenny, apartment 410.
Good afternoon. I've lived here for 39 years in the same unit in apartment 410, and this building was built in 1960.
Sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you, sir. Can you try to speak a little clearer?
That pertains to this, the proposal is. So I've had a 4x8 storage locker in room 4 that 10 years ago they took away for about 6 months because they gutted that room of all the lockers and tried to put in 2 units in that area. According to what I understand, the fire marshal said the sprinkler system for the building goes through all these rooms. It cannot be done. Plus the ceiling is about 6'4". It's too low. So that proposal was shot down. They instead of rebuilding locker units, they tried to knock down more in the room beside it. So when new people came in, all of a sudden there was no locker space. In my lease signed on January 1st, 1984, it says I am entitled to 1 parking space and 1 locker. And those lockers used to be an 8x4 locker, which people that live in here now have been told by management that there is no lockers available. In my room, there's 8 lockers. Locker room number 1. They're in use all the time. I'm in and out of my locker every day because that's where I keep my tools because I don't have a garage to put my stuff in. Like I said, I've been here for 39 years. And I've had a problem for the last 10 years fighting to keep our lockers because they want to expand. If they added an addition to the building, that would be a different story. They could add units that way, but we've been trying to get them to change the risers from the 7th floor down to the 1st floor because there's a water problem, and they refuse to do that. They won't spend money on that, but they want to build 11 units that there's no room for in the existing particulars of the building. If they added an addition, I could see that. We've been asking for 15 years for more parking spots. They took a playground out. We had swings, teeter-totters, everything for kids. It was a family building, and they took them out in 2008, and we're supposed to put in 20 to 25 parking spaces, which they never did. So they've said a lot of stuff, and they don't do anything. What they should do is the people that have lived here, like I said, 39 years is a long time. I don't have a problem with them expanding an extension, but this building was only built for 80 units, and there's not enough room to try to squeeze new units in. And it used to be a family building. People now, people leave the old units, they put in false appliances and stuff to fix up new ones. People stay there for 1 year, realize it's not worth twice as much money as the units were before they fixed them up, and they move out. So as Rita said before, we have 8 empty spaces in here now. People asking for parking spots that they say they don't have. People asking for lockers that they have the space to build the lockers. And those 2 empty rooms that they're talking about, that the gentleman from Ava was talking about, they used to be party rooms. I used to be the Santa Claus in here at Christmas time, and we'd have a party for the kids in those rooms. It's the superintendent and management over the last couple of years that have turned them into storage spaces for unused stoves and refrigerators. It's got nothing to do with the tenants. I mean, the tenants, as the lady said, we should have a tenant committee in here, but every time we've tried to form one, management has tried to put pressure on people, which they're not supposed to, and a lot of people move out. So the unfortunate thing is they should be fixing up what is internally wrong with the building now and worrying about expansion at a later date.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you for letting me speak.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for Mr. Kenny? Okay, let's hear back then, have the agent to respond to the concerns of the neighbors. So, Mr. Verheil, we've heard a lot from the neighbors about the disrepair of the building, the fact these spaces were taken away, how there's electrical problems, they can't plug 2 things. So if the electrical isn't good enough for the existing tenants, if you add another 11, just want to comment on what we've heard from the neighbors.
Absolutely. I mean, these are all valid comments, and it's good to hear concerns from the neighbors. I mean, we are trying to improve the building, make it a better place for everybody. Firstly, just to talk about the signage, the placement of the sign. I mean, we were instructed to place a sign at the front entrance, and this was actually placed originally in September when the first hearing was supposed to be held in September 14th. So I think the sign was originally placed there on Labor Day. And when I went to put the new sign up, which was on the new year, January 2nd, that sign was still there. So that sign has been up for 4 months. So I'm kind of surprised to hear that nobody knew that anything was actually happening. And then we knew that things would be posted in the laundry room. So that's a communal space within the building. So anyways, it is what that is. In terms of maintenance, we do understand that the building needs some work. And through this renovation project, we plan to do that. The locker rooms are, because of the sprinklers, we're going to be redoing the sprinkler system to suit the new layout. So that's going to be addressed. I mean, these are all maintenance issues that are going to be addressed through the renovations. Again, we conducted, so when we understand what's existing in terms of parking, and we know that there's 92 spaces. I mean, I'm glad to hear from Rita that there's actually 94. So we're not as deficient as we thought we would be. But this is why we conduct a parking study. And we had a professional planning department conduct this study. And these are the findings that were presented to us. So looking at that, we decide to make certain decisions, and that's why we have not submitted or proposed any additional parking, because from this parking study, which was done by a reputable company, that we actually have a surplus of parking for the visitors, as noted on the table, as for the actual tenants. So that's my comment regarding that. So in terms of the locker storage, the lockers do seem that there's 44 lockers that have that are stuffed, and through the survey. So the survey was actually conducted in the summer when we were preparing to go for the original hearing date in September, and then it was reviewed and updated just recently in the last few weeks, from my understanding, with the property management company. There are basically 32 lockers that are spoken for. And again, out of the 7 people that have listed or submitted a letter of objection, 4 of those have lockers, and we have 2 additional lockers which we can present to 2 of the 3 people that have submitted a letter of objection. Now, our planning is a preliminary planning design or layout, and I'm just looking at our locker room, which is kind of trapezoidal shaped, and we have placed a conventional stacked locker in this space, which gave us a count of 34. And now that I look at the plan, there's 3 lockers that are actually much larger because of the configuration of the room. The standard stacked locker is 3.5 by 3.5 by 5 feet or 4 feet. And so there are 3 lockers that are actually 3.5 feet by 7 feet. So they're almost the size of an existing locker. Granted, they are smaller, and when you have a larger locker space, you're going to fill it with things that maybe you may not need. And I don't want to sound really arrogant about saying that, but sometimes it's good to purge, I guess. But what I'm trying to say is that in the new locker storage room, because of the configuration, we can work to maybe get more lockers in that space. As you can see, the corridor space can be tightened up. We could probably squeeze a few more lockers in there. So, I mean, we want to improve the building, and by adding units to the ground floor, we have windows and doors and patios that access the beautiful site. So this is going to promote people going out into the lawn, especially people that are living on the ground floor. There's going to be an outdoor amenity space that is close to the minimum that's required. So again, this nature of a family building, we are very much interested in that. And through this design, we are proposing that will come back again. I think, I think those are the issues, my understanding of the issues. So again, we've worked with the planning department to make this a better building for the tenants and for new residents, this exterior amenity space. We are providing a better laundry room. So they have 4 existing washers and dryers. We are doing 6 new washers and dryers with a new barrier-free washroom with a sink. We're going to have a beautiful new lobby with seating in there. And the outside is going to have solar-driven lighting. There, as you can see, there's planting around the walkway. So again, this promotes the use of this beautiful site.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anything other that I can to speak to?
See if anyone has any questions for you.
I have a question.
Yep.
I have a question, yeah. So since this building was built in 1965, how many owners has this building had? You know if it's a new owner that's trying to make these improvements, or whether it's an original owner, or
it's not the
original owner.
I don't know how many owners there are. This is not the original owner.
So it's not still in the family. So there is a potential then or a desire for improvements. Because it sounds to me like a lot of these issues are property standard issues.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Stan?
I'd like to come back to the parking issue and specifically the parking study. Because the parking study that I see that you've produced is dated September. You just told me that you've submitted a new one for on January the 5th. I don't see this January the 5th study. Well, let me ask you this. Which study are you relying on? The one that was done on September the 7th?
So that is yeah, that's the right, this is the correct parking study, the study that was created at September 7th.
Which transportation has dubbed insufficient because their memo of January the 4th is saying you haven't substantiated to them your parking surplus.
So, I mean, this was, we met with, so we originally had a parking study sent for the previous date. We had just met in the new year with the parking consultant. And then this is the parking study that the latest parking study, and then we uploaded it.
Sorry, you've already confused me. You just said you met in January, and now you're saying that the study was done in September.
Yeah, so this study was uploaded in January.
The September 7th study.
Correct, correct.
So, so Toronto Transportation has not seen this until when?
We uploaded this in January after we met with the parking consultant. I'm just trying to see when our original one was here. Let me just sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking through my files. Just one moment. Sorry about that. Parking, I have it all here. So just one moment.
Through you, Mr. Chair, it was uploaded on January 5th.
Okay. That's correct, yes. So transportation hasn't seen this parking study.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know why it would have taken you that long to provide it, but I mean, to me, it's like you're not ready for today's meeting.
I guess someone named Aislinn had sent a letter December 3rd to reschedule this. We would like to proceed with scheduling a hearing date. Can you let us know when the next available hearing date is?
Correct.
And then now we have, as Mr. Comeric said, the transportation memo, which says the January 2022 one, should the committee find merit, we recommend approval be subject to the applicant providing acceptable supporting evidence to demonstrate the existing parking is adequate to satisfy the resident parking demands. So it seems it's subjective to the satisfaction of transportation services. So you're saying you've done that, but they haven't seen it yet.
Correct. So
that would still have to be a conditional of an approval. And if you couldn't satisfy them, then you couldn't satisfy them. So you're okay if in the event of an approval that continued to be a condition of approval?
Absolutely.
Okay. And planning, you're okay with giving them the LC, whatever that condition as well, correct? The planning condition.
Correct. Yeah, the credit for the landscape
works. Yeah, letter of credit to secure the landscape works. Okay.
Correct.
Is there an amount been discussed for what that letter of credit should be?
It's to the satisfaction of, it's up to planning department.
Yeah, it just says letter of credit to secure the landscape work.
So we had this dilemma at a previous meeting where we were suggesting a letter of credit and staff were saying, well, we can't do that because we don't know what the amount should be.
No, but here
now we're being asked to do.
Yeah, but here planning is asking for the condition and they'll establish the amount. So I guess the one we were talking about is we wanted to do it without having a department.
No, I understand. I had to get the dig in, Mike. It's okay.
Yeah, I think that's the rationale that they're asking for it, and they'll figure out how much it is. And I guess they don't have that finished yet, so they don't.
Yeah, so we can get an estimate done and submit it to Daniel in the planning department.
That comes afterwards, so that's we don't. I don't think we have to concern ourselves with the amount as long as we put that in as a condition. Any other questions, or is someone ready to weigh in with a motion on this? Mr. Taylor?
Mr. Chair, we heard a lot of very good, useful, thoughtful comments from the neighbors, but I think, as Ms. Alderson pointed out, they seem to be related to property standards, which are not sort of within our purview. I think if we look at what's before us, it's a matter of the appropriateness of allowing the conversion of certain non-residential spaces to apartments, and I think that overall objective is laudable to increase the rental housing stock. I'm satisfied with the parking situation. Who knows? Still outstanding, but if we put a condition on, transportation is going to have sign off on that, so we can be assured that that issue will be resolved. And the landscaping LC will get sorted out between the applicant and planning. So I'm satisfied that the variances meet the 4 tests, and I'm prepared to move approval subject to the community planning condition regarding the letter of credit and the transportation services condition regarding the transportation demand study.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
I'm prepared to second. I'm prepared to second that motion, but I just wanted to add to the residents who are still on the line, the tenants that are still on the line. If you have issues with the building, with your landlord, with the superintendent, you should call 311, call your counselor, call 311, and report it. And they'll send a property inspector out to look at these things. So that's the way of dealing with that. Just call 311.
Yes. Very true. I think, Mr. Taylor pointed out, we've heard a lot of things that from the tenants who might lead us to believe this is not the ideal model landlord. However, we have to look at the planning issues, and hopefully we can hope that by improving the building, there will be trickle down benefits to all the tenants in the building. They'll fix up the lobby. And maybe it'll be
hopefully that's true. Hopefully that's true.
And owner, I don't know when the last time it changed hands, but hopefully this will allow them to fix things up. But we certainly have heard some things that are quite inflammatory, but to allow that to color our opinion,
pretty negative.
We have to look at the planning issues, even though we're probably none of us are too impressed with what we've heard from the tenants.
No.
Okay.
Just remember 311.
Okay, so we have a motion, seconded, all in favor?
Second.
All in favor? So, okay, so it's unanimous approval. And hopefully the agent can, relay to the ownership that they're getting their approval, but it would be nice if they could improve the situation for everyone in the building.
Yeah, clean up their act.
Okay. Okay, so our next application is item number 41, 1617 Islington Avenue. It's an application to permit a parking deficiency. There's 1 variance, parking space in the front yard. Urban Forestry requesting condition number 2. This was a deferral from November the 16th, 2021. And we have the materials from the previous hearing, and that's all we have. The applicant, David McKay, is the agent.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Happy New Year. My name is David McKay. I'm with MHBC. I'm a registered professional planner, 7050 Weston Road, Vaughan, Ontario, L4G 8G7. With regards to the application, it's fairly straightforward. My client received approval to renovate their garage into additional interior living space. They had plans on the side of the house to put a driveway. When they started looking at it in detail and talking with their neighbors, it would involve removing a fairly mature tree. Yeah, thank you, staff. Oh, if you can go back to that site plan. And obviously it creates a situation where you've got parking next to a house, even though it is a garage. My client spoke with the neighbors and wanted to alleviate their concerns, so they came forward with this application. As you can see, there's a fairly large driveway on the property already. It's not creating a new driveway. The intent of that provision is to alleviate the visual impact of parking in front of a house and to create more pedestrian friendly. In this case, you're on a major street with lots of landscaping in front of the building. So the parking, the visual impact will be reduced. And as noted, transportation staff have no concerns, and there are no concerns raised through the planning department circulation. They have not commented. So we'd respectfully request that the variance be approved.
Thank you. Yeah, and I see we have 1613 Islington in support, and transportation is advised they have no objection. And you're okay with urban forestry condition as well, right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, so committee members, any questions for Mr. Mackay, or is someone ready to weigh in with a motion?
I have one question. There's no work being proposed. This is just to legalize an existing situation. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
So then why do we even need so the question to staff, I guess, is why do we even need the forestry condition? Because they're not going to be doing anything.
It's a good question. I don't really like to argue with forestry staff. I would, if I can avoid it, I will just accept the condition and get it sorted out.
My point is, if we
see your point, I agree.
If we impose that condition, what are you going to do? Put a cage around the tree and then remove it a week later?
Yeah, unfortunately, I guess that's what they were going to make us do.
Maybe they meant condition number 3.
I don't know what they're going to mean, but I'd like to propose approval with no conditions.
I can second that.
Okay, so moved and seconded.
I'm quite happy with that as well, sir. Thank you.
Okay, moved and seconded. I'll take that as your motion and seconding. All in favor? Okay, you have unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Mackay.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Next application is item number 42. This was deferred from the September 28th, 2021 hearing, 14 Vansco Road. It's an application to permit a parking deficiency that will accommodate the proposed interior alterations. Minimum 91, 59 provided. We have a landscape plan, parking and loading study. Planning is again requesting in this an LC to secure landscape works. Transportation has no objection. Metrolinx has advisory has no objection, and we have all the materials from the previous hearing. The speaker agent is Stephen Key. No other speakers.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Stephen G. I'm a planner with Design Plan Services. We have been retained by the property owner of 14 Vansco Road to present this application in front of you today. I don't know if the committee requires an presentation.
I don't believe we do. There is also urban forestry condition 2 on this one, which Mr. Comeric is the same thing. It's a parking deficiency. Why is there urban forestry condition? I see there is a landscape plan, though. Perhaps that's why. Is there a landscape plan being going with this application?
I think there's landscaping work being considered, so maybe that's why.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, Mr. Key.
Yep, I have no objections to all the conditions, the ones from planning as well as urban forestry. I have no objections to that.
Excellent. Okay. Any questions for Mr. Key, or is someone ready for a motion? Mr. Comeric?
Yeah, I believe the application is minor and has merit, and I would like to propose approval subject to conditions, forestry condition 2, and the planning condition for a letter of credit with respect respect to landscaping work that was dated December 21st, I believe was the submission of the landscaping plan.
Okay. Seconded for Mr. Comerick's motion. Mr. Taylor, thank you. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Key.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Okay, item number 43, 26 Syndicate Avenue. It's an application to construct a third-story addition above the existing dwelling, a new three-story rear and front additions, a new rear deck, and a new front porch. We have the material from the previous hearing. This was deferred from September 28th hearing. And we have the covering letter. We have Metrolink's advisory comments, and in the additional materials, we have a petition in support with eight signatures, 4 addresses, and a site plan. And there are 8 variances. The major variance is the FSI 0.8 to 0.94. Sorry, did I make a mistake here? Or we have revised? Oh, okay, we have 8 variances.
That's correct.
8 variances, and FSI 0.94 to 0.8 from 0.8. As well, we have the material from the previous hearing. The Marco Vieira is the agent on this application. No other speakers registered to speak. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Marco Vieira. I'm at 257 Dunraven Drive, and I'm the agent and the designer for this application.
Okay.
We originally did defer from September to give us a chance to look at our original application. We've made 3, we've eliminated 3 different variances and reduced 3 more.
Okay.
Planning had asked us to make it more in keeping with the bylaw. We believe we've done that. Owner has taken the time to canvass the neighborhood, has obtained signatures from immediate neighbors on either side and across the street. We also have a letter of support from Councilor Nunziata. So I believe that the application before you meets the 4 tests, and I ask the committee to approve as submitted.
Okay, I don't happen to see a letter from the councillor. I don't know if it was an original application, but take your word for it.
I believe it was submitted yesterday.
Okay, so it must be late because we did get materials yesterday, but including your petition and with your 8 signatures from 4 residents and the site plan. So
yes.
In any event, okay, committee members, any questions for the Mr. Vieira, or is someone ready for motion?
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Okay.
Is the applicant aware of a report from Transportation Services? I just inadvertently clicked it off, just a moment. Dated January 11th. And it's in our additional material.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
And it says right at the bottom, the proposed rear yard parking space as illustrated with a width of 2.6 meters. Since the parking space abuts the south property line and to accommodate the door swing on private property, a minimum parking space width of 2.1 meters should be provided. My question is, could you accommodate that request from Transportation Services?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we believe we can. It's just part of the open space in the rear yard. We have no problem shifting over the parking spot. So the actual area of the parking spot is the same, but we will locate it 2.9 meters from the property line to allow for space to enter and exit the vehicle. We are aware of the report. We did discuss this option with transportation, as there's an existing right-of-way on this property. So in our discussions, we ensure that the pin or the connection between back of the house going towards the rear would slightly angle. And that's that site plan that's been revised to ensure that the distance between the existing wall and the property line does not make it worse than the existing condition. So it'll go from 1.997 to an angle of 2.29 meters. And we would have no problem with.
If there are no questions, I'm prepared to make a motion. I believe the variances are in keeping with the 4 tests. I'm satisfied with the conversation about the transportation matter, which wasn't set up as a condition, so I'm not going to assign a transportation condition to this. It'll be without conditions. So that would be my motion: approval without conditions.
Okay, seconder for that motion? Mr. Comeric, thank you. All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you, Mr. Villar.
Mr. Chair and committee members, have a good evening.
Okay. Our last application of the afternoon is item 44, 3 Oregon Trail, second story addition above the existing dwelling, a new front porch, a new rear deck, and a new attached garage with 8 variances. Transportation has no objection. This matter was deferred from November 16, 2021. Forestry wants us to deny variance 8. So it's a refusal. Urban Forestry 5 is their request. And we also have the material from the previous hearing. And the speaker on this application is Raman Sandhu.
Yes, so thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Raman Sandhu. I'm the owner of this property and the designer. Work with Marvel Engineering located in Etobicoke. So this matter was discussed on November 16th. The amount of variances from 10 to now, we have total 7 variances. Variance number 8 is actually same as variance number 6. It's just the old Etobicoke bylaw, and same goes for variance number 5 and variance number 9. Says the same thing, but it's just old Etobicoke bylaw. So the total number of variances we have is 7. We were discussing the whole project with planning before. So they said that it meets the intention of the official plan, so they supported us. Last time transportation had some issues with the location of the driveway and how the garage is going to be located in terms of the street level. They requested some profiles and plans to be provided, which we provided them. So the transportation moved their recommendation from defer to approval. Forestry is very interesting. So forestry, if you see their last report they had, the last report they said that the proposed driveway is going to eat up the planting space of a potential tree. So they said either deny it or move it to a conditional approval where we have to pay cash in lieu of $583 because we are eating up the potential tree planting space. Now, we were prepared for that, so conditional approval, no problem. In December, in late December, they actually planted a small tree over there. So now there is a tree, if you see their latest report, which is planted in December, even though they had the knowledge that we were pursuing a driveway there, we were not notified of a tree being planted at that property, at that location. Now the tree is there. And now the transportation recommends either denial or conditional approval with the forestry permit. We had a conversation with forestry. They said it is because it's planted in December. It's not going to grow until the spring hits. So you have a great opportunity to transplant the tree at another viable location as per the forestry supervisor. And this was a little surprise for us that a tree appeared, and now we have to abide by this location, this situation. But anyway, so we would like to, we have to do the tree permit regardless. We have to transplant the tree. The only thing is this additional approval is going to, there was already one deferral. Even if conditional approval is granted, it's gonna set us back a little more, which is going to eat up time, which again, we are paying a lot of mortgages and all of that. So we would, if possible, from committee and committee members, we would like to request an unconditional approval, considering our situation where tree appeared in late December. If not, then a conditional approval will be appreciated.
Okay, thank you, sir. Committee members, any questions for the owner? I guess he's discussing, he doesn't want the denial. He wants, I guess, the alternative would be urban forestry condition number 1 typically. I think we'd have to give some kind of a nod to urban about the tree and having, whether it's relocated or the flanking street, but I think that's something that can be worked out after the fact, once we make it, impose the condition. Any questions, or is someone ready for a motion?
I just wanted to clarify for you, Mr. Chair. Looking at Google Street View, that tree did not exist on the flanking street. It does now. So I understand his issue.
Okay.
Yes, it was very surprising for us, and it's a little disheartening that we have to go through one additional process. 3-4 months of our time is gonna go, and we were not even notified by any means.
I mean, if the tree were planted in front of the house, it wouldn't be a problem.
Yes.
But it was planted right where the driveway is proposed to be.
Yeah, it can be relocated. So you can leave that to the.
Yeah, so, I mean, you know, I like the applicant's revisions, I understand. I believe he's done what we wanted him to do. You know, it seems a little odd. I'm tempted to go with like forestry condition 3 rather than 1.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense or not. I mean,
Madam, perhaps Barb can help. Barb,
I mean, the tree does exist, but it's a little disingenuous on the.
It was just planted in December. It's a little, you know, so it could probably be.
So it's fairly young and fairly small.
Right.
It can be transplanted.
Barb, do you have any
Yeah,
suggestions?
unfortunately, whoever's planting the trees may not know of any proposed construction, so they saw an opportunity, they planted a tree.
Right.
And now it's going to affect this proposal.
Because the front is bare. It could have been planted in the front.
But I think even if you impose condition number 1, they have an opportunity to plant it elsewhere, but they'll have to satisfy urban forestry. Yes, it might mean a slight delay for them, but it's better than trying to, because they need permission to remove the tree anyway.
Can we impose condition
Even if you
number
don't
1?
put that
number
condition
3?
in, they can get a big fine if they touch a city tree, regardless of.
Actually, just trying to weigh in, we have to get a permit. I'm a designer, so I have done other committee of adjustments before. So we have to get a tree. I know about the fines. It can go up to 100,000. The only thing is, if it is unconditional, the permit could be issued without approval from the forestry. And even if it comes later, you can start the construction inside the house with the tree fence around it. And when the approval comes, we can transplant that tree.
Yeah.
I'm just at a bit of a loss for what we can or can't do here, and that's when we differ.
Why can't we just make it conditional? So urban forestry condition number 1 and number 3. What's the problem with that?
Well, the problem is we're imposing even more conditions than what forestry is asking them.
Well, 3 is just planting a new tree, and 1 is would be moving it or protecting it. I don't know. Looking at the house, it looks like they could use a couple of trees in front of their house. It's pretty bare.
It is there. I mean, I'm happy to plant some trees inside the property. The backyard is bare. Tree planting is not an issue. It's just that it's just the timeline I'm a little concerned about. It's been 6-7 months and we are still in the process.
I agree.
So if number 3 could be the only condition, we would really appreciate that.
Number 3?
Yes.
Okay. Who's going to go? Who's going to make the motion?
I just want to get a response from Barb in terms of how that city tree gets dealt with in that scenario.
Well, the problem is he'll have to file a tree declaration with his building permit, and it should, if it's answered correctly, say that there is a city affected tree, and he'll have to provide a sign off anyway. So I don't think this will save him any time.
So we're not facilitating anything by excluding
No.
condition 1.
No.
If that's the case, then I'll propose approval with forestry condition 1, and I'll take out 3 and they can transplant that one.
Okay, so that's your motion. Approval with condition, urban forestry condition 1. Seconder for that
Number
motion.
1.
Ms. Alderson, thank you. All in favor? It's unanimous. You have your approval. Thank you. And we stand.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
6:13 p.m. We stand adjourned. Motion to adjourn. I don't know if we need a motion to adjourn. Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll see you next time.
Thank you, members, for a
Thank
good
you.
hearing.
Okay.
See you, everybody.
Safe.
Stay safe, everyone.
Thanks.